and gentlemen, welcome to TWitWoW Request Live, Episode 5. This is, as I said, the 5th edition of our Patreon request series, and tonight we are covering a 1997 peak of the Attitude Era WWF/E show, D-Generation X in your house.
Yeah, you know you've taken over the world when you get an event named after you, and yeah, DX.
Don't say that, John. Cliff has already told me he's considered donating to get us to review No Way Out Sold Out, or NWO Sold Out 97.
Oh, okay.
And that show's horrible, so don't say that.
Okay, I redact. However, that doesn't change the fact that I had a lot of fun with this show. Great memories here. One segment that just still will always put the stupidest smile on my face. Had a great opening match with the light heavyweights. And yeah, the DX stuff, you know, with Triple H and Slaughter and Michaels and Shamrock, both matches very entertaining. So on the whole, I'd give this pay-per-view a solid 8.5 out of 10 for my money. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Whew, buddy. I'd say 8 is maybe fair. I might even go as low as 7.5. But yeah, it wasn't a great show, but it was undoubtedly entertaining.
Yeah, that's really where I agree with you. You know, this packed a wall up as far as like characters are concerned and the moments and the entertainment. And it really didn't feel contrived because we know Raw today, I think, kind of aims to be the same thing, the entertainment show, and yet everything kind of feels so ham-fisted, whereas I feel like there was more of a natural flow with this show. I mean, sure, things got insane in parts, and we'll get to all that. But yeah, I had fun with this. This is a great kind of turn your brain off, just let it happen sort of experience, and yeah, very entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, if you say so. Well, do you want to get into the show? You want to get right into the actual review part?
All right, brother. What do we open up with here?
We open up with our light heavyweight championship tournament finals to crown the first ever light heavyweight champion. Too Sexy Brian Christopher versus Taka Michinoku. Taka actually currently wrestling in New Japan with Suzuki Gun, so interesting to see him back when he was a young whippersnapper, 23 years old in this show.
I know, that's crazy, because they were making a big deal about him, like, oh, Japanese media's here, he's 23 years old, and dude, I gotta be honest with everybody, and this may come as a surprise to some, maybe not, this was one of, if not my favorite match on the card, and not just because it was a well-wrestled match, and I appreciated that they gave the light heavyweights time, because this was a big tournament, and this was the finals. The commentary in this was fucking hilarious.
Mostly because of the whole Jerry Lawler is Brian Christopher's father shtick.
Exactly. And Jim Ross was trolling so hard. It's like, oh yeah, use that pile driver I taught you. Oh, what, you taught your son? What? And like Jerry Lawler.
Oh, when did you teach him when he was 12 and learn how to ride a bike?
Exactly. Jim Ross always like slid those references in there, and Jerry would always like act aloof, like, "Oh, what'd you say, JR? Quit talking about sons. I'm trying to watch this match." And yeah,
you're talking about sons and fathers, and I'm just sitting here trying to enjoy this wonderful match.
Exactly. This was Jerry Lawler at his best. Like, I miss this heel Jerry Lawler because it's so great. You know why they don't have a Disney World in Japan, don't you? Everybody's too small to take the rides. It's just, oh my God, Jerry. Well, what was that one line he had too about Jim Ross and like, oh, your father put you aside and he left you there?
Yeah. One day your father took you aside and then he left you there.
Exactly. So yeah, and then when Brian Christopher gets his mouth busted open, which actually was a pretty nice visual. I mean, you hate when stuff like that happens, but you go with it. For just how physical this junior heavyweight championship match was. Jerry's like, oh, I gotta,
John, light heavyweight.
I keep saying junior, but yes, light heavyweight. Jerry Lawler's like, oh, I gotta check on him. Oh, come on, Brian, you know, get in there.
And then, of course, there was the mentioning of the weights and talking about how, listen, Brian Christopher has to train every day. He has to give up all his favorite foods just to meet the 215-pound weight limit. What do you think Taka weighs? About $125, maybe, tops?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, Jerry just did not stop. He was unrelenting on Taka, and of course Jim Ross was unrelenting on Jerry, so everything kind of happening there. Again, as far as the match itself goes, I like the way Brian Christopher worked, when he was kind of dominant here. Had some nice offense.
I feel like Brian Christopher's offense consisted entirely of fist-related strikes. He was punching, sledges, backfill, like everything was just, I'm going to hit you with a balled-up fist, and that was the whole thing. It was so repetitive. I think there might have been like a powerbomb spot at one point, but
he got
even
a powerbomb at one point. He did like a slam, kind of like a world's strongest slam, but not without of course the oomph. Of course, he got a German on Taka at one point. So yeah, I mean he got some power game in there, but I do also see what you mean about the strikes. I mean the thing that stuck out.
I think that might have just been like the era though, because even in the main event, I felt like Shawn Michaels might have thrown like 2 or 3 dozen punches.
Yeah, and Shamrock was definitely heavy on the strikes. Of course, he also had some variants that kind of made my eyes pop out of my head, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
And yeah, oh, by the way, side note, Brian Christopher's laugh, though, this was Curtis Axel before Curtis Axel was a thought in his daddy's sack.
Brian Christopher was doing a lot of things that have been done today. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, dude, the finish where Brian Christopher misses the leg drop and that Michinoku driver, that looked legit because he just planted Christopher on his head. Yeah. And
Brian Christopher did a skull-crushing finale in this match.
That looked nice. I was like, that looks good.
He did a Batista bomb in this match. Is Brian Christopher a time traveler? Because it seems like he was using a lot of moves that were popularized long after he was out of the business.
Yeah, just crazy. He might have been thinking to himself, I don't understand, Dad. These guys won world titles with these moves. What's wrong with me?
He even did like an Okada Omega-esque middle rope drop kick to the back of Taka's head in this match.
Yeah, dude, it was nuts. I was like, man. So yeah, I really enjoyed this opening bout. I thought it set a great tone. But
and his finisher, I forget what it was called, but it was some kind of jam. Tennessee jam.
Tennessee jam, I believe.
Tennessee jam, yeah. Just a top rope leg drop, no big deal. But he missed and landed ass first, and then that allowed Taka to get the Michinoku driver. So I mean, Evan makes a good point in chat. Curtis Axel was definitely born before this pay-per-view.
That's true. Okay, so he was a product of his daddy's sack at that point, but I mean, man, maybe he's a closet Brian Christopher fan.
Curtis Axel was probably like 10, 11 years old, maybe at 12, 13.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he saw this match and he's like, wow, I want to be like Brian Christopher. And then when he's like, I have arrived, he's just thinking, did it for you, Brian. I got the laugh down. So, yeah. Good stuff. Taka wins, first ever light heavyweight champion. 23 years old again, which is insane to think about. And now he's a part of the all-amazing Suzuki Gun. So, yeah, definitely had a lot of fun with this.
Suzuki Gun, who now own the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships in New Japan.
Yes, and ZSJ's membership. Yes.
That's right, and ZSJ has, like, every title from everywhere.
Exactly. God,
Rev Pro, PWG, Evolve, just name it, and Zack Sabre Jr. is probably a champion there.
Oh, God, and Suzuki Gun got a coup there, and yeah, Taka being a part of it, just so cool, getting to, wrestling in his homeland of Japan, and that was funny, too, when Jim Ross was like, living his dream wrestling in America, and he had great success there. Like, I think about Taka's career, and even though that was, like, before my time, I know that, yeah, he was a light heavyweight champion.
Kai and Tai?
Was that, no, wait. Was that when he teamed with Funaki or no?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so it was yeah, I vaguely remember that. And, again, I do remember that big match he had with Triple H. Like, so many people were behind Taka, and I think it was kind of unheard of that two guys of, like, that kind of weight differential and card differential would mix it up. So, yeah, Taka didn't really do too bad for himself in the WWF. And, I mean, this was certainly a step in the right direction. So, Anything else you want to say about this?
This was kind of their answer to the Cruiserweight division, wasn't it? Because, like, not only was it, like, you had a weight limit, but also it opened the show. Like, it was the ultimate curtain jerker. It was perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you.
So, after Taka wins the light heavyweight championship and he gets crowned the first ever, we had a 6-man tag that featured Los Boriquas which was, I mean, good Lord, the names of these guys. It was like Miguel, Jose, and then someone else whose name I
feel
don't
like it
even
was
remember.
Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus. Miguel, Jose, and Jesus. And of course, Savio Vega was also in this faction, but he got thrown out of ringside before the match even started because apparently Tim White was better at his job than any other referee on payroll.
Yeah, right? Like, damn, man, some of the shit the refs let people get away with on this show. I'm like, what the fuck? And again, we'll get to that later, but...
Mostly in DX matches, let's be real.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like, okay, I see you. I see what's going on here. But, yeah.
But their opponents were, it was Brian Lee, known on this episode of Raw, or on this show as Chains, and a couple of Nazis, literal white supremacists, the Harris brothers, known in this tag team as Skull and 8-Ball.
Wow, I was about to praise this team too, and now it just kind of makes it a little awkward.
No, I mean, dude, they're actually like talented wrestlers. Like, they hit the ropes really well. They were entertaining. They're big. They have great looks. But yeah, the Harris Bros are actual Nazis in real life.
Yeah, that's something. So you know what? I pretty much felt like I dominated the conversation on the opener. What did you think of this 6-man here?
I actually enjoyed, dude. Brian Lee can move. Like, really, all three members of the Disciples of Apocalypse are shockingly like low. Like, I feel like those three guys, just from an in-ring performance standpoint, could have been main eventers. Like, all three of them had a great look. They could all move. They could all sell. They could all wrestle. Like, they hit the ropes like they freaking meant it. Like, they wanted to break the damn things. Like, these guys are really entertaining in the ring.
Dude, it was crazy to me watching this 6-man, like all the talented big men in this thing, because pretty much, yeah, all of D.O.A. were great. And then you look at Los Boriquas, and I thought Jose was quite athletic because he got a shoulder block and he got one other move that I'm like, damn, like he's like that size and he does that. And you got Miguel who did a moonsault. That I thought was impressive. Jesus really didn't stand out to me too much, if I'm being honest. But yeah, Jose and Miguel, I thought were great on their team. So yeah, this was actually kind of a surprising match. I didn't expect it to be that entertaining from the in-ring perspective. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, dude, because like Brian Lee, Chains was 6'6" and probably like 265, 270. And the Harris Bros, Skull and 8-Ball were 6'7" and a combined 575 pounds. So yeah, like these are three gigantic human beings. They all look exactly like what you would imagine a Vince McMahon main eventer would look like, and yet I don't remember any of them ever doing anything in the WWF beyond the D.O.A.
Right. Yeah,
Like, how crazy is that?
That is crazy, because again, like a lot of context is missing for me, because I totally skipped this era for the most part. But yeah, seeing these guys, it was nuts. And really the pivotal moment of the match came when Miguel, we thought he had a knee injury, and I'll tell you, they even suckered me in, because I'm like, oh, that did look pretty bad. Like, I'm hoping he's okay. And then you got Savio Vega coming out and trying to get the tag. But, D.O.A., they're doing a great job isolating everything, and the ref's just like, no.
Well, dude, and not only that, but the referee was straight up telling Savio, like, no, you're not in the match. Go away. Like, I banned you from ringside just because your boy Miguel got hurt. Doesn't mean that you're allowed to enter the match. You're not even on the contract to be in this match. And Savio Vega just kind of lingered at that point, and that kind of ended up playing into the finish.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, actually, because I feel like in this day and age, because you and I have seen tag matches before where a partner on like one team or another like gets taken out, and I feel like in those instances I've seen somebody try and be in a replacement and it's all good. Like the ref's like, oh, all right, but I actually like the logic here. Like, no, Savio did not sign a contract for this match. Get the hell out. So even in a match like this, and even knowing that it was the Attitude Era that was all about the bizarreness and the oddities and this and that, just that little modicum of logic, I really appreciated that, and it wasn't lost on me. Miguel, though, was lying about his knee. It does a flipping leg drop, which just looked gorgeous, right on the back of, I believe it was, who was it, 8-Ball's head? Or do you remember who it was? Because I know Jim Ross even got him mixed up a lot, so I'm just trying to place who got pinned. But yeah, they got hit with it, and Los Boriquas actually
the guy that got pinned was Chains. It was the guy with the hair.
Chains. Okay. So Chains got pinned, yeah. And Los Boriquas actually
And
get the win.
I thought that was funny because, like, the Harris Bros are, like, white supremacists. So, of course, the only other guy in on the tag team is the one that eats the pin because they're not willing to put over Hispanic guys.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that's crazy. But I enjoyed this 6-man. I thought it was fun, and not really much more I can say than that.
This was interesting. This was really interesting. And yeah, you could probably argue that they're not Nazis, like literal Nazis, but they're undoubtedly white supremacists. They have the freaking SS tattoo. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's straight up like white supremacists. Bolt logo, like they're white supremacists.
Yeah, it's kind of an awkward revelation here for me. So yeah, that I mean they're athletic. I just really don't agree with their ideological alignment. So yeah.
Anyway, I guess we can move on because this, like you mentioned, Miguel faked the injury, did the flip leg drop to break up a pin, and then I don't remember who it was, but Los Boricuas ended up getting a pin on Chains.
Yes. And
so up next, Dok Hendrix interviews Butterbean.
Yeah, not really much to say about this promo. God, the whole thing with Marc Mero, we'll get to that later, but he pretty much says, like, I don't even want to comment how he treats Sable, and pretty much conveys the idea, Marc Mero's a piece of garbage, and I'm going to teach him a lesson tonight, more or less. But yeah, Butterbean's not a talker. I really barely even know who this guy is. I mean, I've heard of him, but, this wasn't exemplary by any means. Do you have any thoughts?
No, I mean, the Butterbean isn't really a talker. He's just, like, he's an actual amateur fighter that they just brought in because apparently he had some popularity behind him.
Right.
So, but then we did get the Michael Cole interview with Sable, and they talk about how, you were in Atlantic City last night at a Butterbean fight, and you were in the undercard, and Butterbean was in the undercard of an Oscar De La Hoya match, show. And so then we got like this video package showing the build up to Butterbean versus Marc Mero, and then Michael Cole asks Sable where her heart is, and apparently she makes it very clear that she will be in Marc Mero's corner. And then Marc Mero shows up, and he's just like, did I give you permission to do this interview? This is supposed to be my interview. Stop trying to steal my spotlight. I'm gonna kill Butterbean.
God, I didn't think it was possible, but he actually made me kind of ashamed to be a scumbag. Marc Mero just coming in. I'm just like, wow, Marc Mero, you're really something. But yeah, he's just like, did I tell you could cut this promo? This is my time. Oh, blow it out your ass, Mero. But yeah, this is another segment because the whole big story here was Sable's being maltreated by Marc Mero, and everybody's just waiting for her to kind of stand up for herself, which I think wasn't the payoff that she actually hit a Sable bomb on him or something.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so, he does get his comeuppance eventually. It's just not on this show, at least not entirely. But again, we'll get to it. Anything else you want to say about this?
No. Well, I mean, to be fair, up next actually was the Marc Mero versus Butterbean Tough Man fight. And I thought this was actually pretty funny because you had Mero just kind of healing it up for a while, like dodging, running away from Butterbean, clinging to the ropes, that kind of thing. At one point, there were actually Sable chants because, people always talk about, oh, Sable was really over, but I don't think a lot of people realize how over this woman was in her time.
Right.
So, yeah, Sable was super, Sable was to 1997 what Lana was to 2015.
I got that vibe when they were chanting for Sable when she wasn't even competing or whatever. I'm just like, oh damn, Mark, how does that taste?
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty funny to me. What did you think about this whole thing on the whole? Because here's the thing, I was into it for maybe the first round, but I feel like it kind of went on too long for my taste. Just kind of whatever, and I got a little bored with it. What did you think?
Dude, the really funny part about it is that, Marc Mero versus Butterbean, it was supposed to be this 4-round thing, but each round was only 2 minutes. So even though it felt like it took forever, the rounds really weren't that long. So this segment probably didn't really take that long. It just felt like it was going on forever because, like, Butterbean is a really shitty boxer, and Marc Mero is, like, actually a really good boxer. But at the same time, Marc Mero was obviously scripted to lose this match. So you just had Marc Mero landing dozens of punches on Butterbean, but he had to pull his punches, so obviously he wasn't going to knock Butterbean out. So it just looked really stupid. Like, the execution of this match looked really dumb because, like, Marc Mero is literally dancing circles around this fat tub of goo, as he referred to him as. And, like, they're building up all the way to the third round where Butterbean, with 10 seconds left, does, like, a big wind-up and then clocks Marc Mero in the face and knocks him out with 5 seconds to go. And then the ref starts counting, but the bell rings before the referee can count to 10, so obviously Butterbean doesn't win right away, and Marc Mero makes it to the next round. But then, like, as soon as the fourth round starts, Marc Mero does a low blow to Butterbean. Like, I'm pretty sure he kicked him in the balls, and then he grabs the stool that he was sitting in the whole time and clocks Butterbean over the back with it.
Yeah, it just went to hell in a handbasket real quick because he does the low blow, the stool, and then he, like, gets out of dodge. And Butterbean's like, oh, get back in here. We're not done. And I'm like, well, I am. Thank fucking Christ that segment's over. Yeah, I get what you're saying, because it definitely did seem like Marc Mero had better form and everything, but he is the heel, so he can't come off looking good.
Right.
He has to come off
like, I noticed that throughout this entire match, like, Butterbean, like, it's funny because even, like, before the match, like, they were saying, like, oh, Butterbean will tell you he's not a boxer, he's a fighter. And I'm just thinking, like, oh, well, that's weird. And then we get to the match, and it's like, yeah, he's not a boxer because he's a really bad boxer.
Right. And, yeah, I hated the idea, like, oh, they had to really go out of their way to make it seem like Marc
And then
Mero
they
was
even said that, like, apparently Marc Mero was, like, 51-3 in boxing matches in his boxing, like, amateur boxing career. Well, and he had, like, 37 knockouts, I think it was.
Yeah, and didn't they even say, like, he's a 4-time, like, Golden Glove champion or something?
Yeah.
I know that was mentioned.
Yeah. So, like, that's dumb. I'm sorry, but why would you bring in this scrub, really, Butterbean, to put over one of the legitimately tough guys in your company?
Yeah, I mean, look, I really don't care one way or the other about Marc Mero, but if I was to look at it objectively, like, this is a talent that I've employed. Like, I do think there's an interesting idea having a boxing fight on a wrestling show to draw heat, because obviously people come to see wrestling. If you want to come see boxing, you know, there are plenty of promotions to do that. But I would have had, you know, Marc Mero maybe pick on somebody that's like a real undercard or maybe like a real runt in the locker room, and then maybe just have Sable, like, you know, just be like, oh, come on, Mark, is not enough or whatever. But you totally bitch out Mero here, which, I mean, again, maybe I'm missing a lot of context, but it really didn't make any sense to me because, yeah, it just looked like, yeah, Marc Mero could wipe the floor with your ass. So
for
what's
sure.
going on here?
Yeah. So, Marc Mero, not a great performer as a wrestler, but I'll be damned if he's not a good boxer. And they decided to put him in the ring with the guy who's supposed to be, like, credible as a boxer, but actually sucks at boxing. So this whole match was just really backwards and slow. And the most interesting thing was, like, what Marc Mero did after each round. Because after the first round, he just kind of punched Butterbean in the back of the head. And then after the second round, he straight drop kicked him in the back. And then the third round was when he was knocked out, so he didn't do anything. But then the fourth round starts, and immediately we get a low blow and a chair shot.
He's just like, fuck this at that point.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's going to end my way. So, yeah, it was what it was. I'm just glad that it's over.
And by the way, this was the first of many matches that ended by disqualification because of shenanigans.
Yes, you know, dude, I looked up the wiki for this show because I do that a lot of times at the pay-per-views, because I was even thinking, like, yeah, there are a lot of DQs on this show. So I looked to know, like, exactly how many. There were 3 DQ finishes on this show. And that I have to hold against it, because with contemporary pay-per-views that we cover, yeah, I hate that shit.
And it was 3 of the last 5 matches, so that's even worse.
Exactly, yeah. That was not a good look in this show's favor. Like, again,
and the thing is, the three DQs were all D-Generation X matches, and that's what the name of the show is for.
Right.
Because it was the New Age Outlaws, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels all of their matches ended by DQ.
Right. Yeah, that was crazy to me. I'm like, what the shit is this? But yeah, again, we'll get more into detail about that when we get to those matches. But this was the tough man thing between Marc Mero and Butterbean. Do you have any more thoughts you want to share about it?
Well, John, up next, Luna Vachon comes out.
Oh, yes.
But she's not alone because she is got on a leash the artist formerly known as Goldust.
You're doing so much better than me already because I won't keep a straight face. What did you think about this?
So basically, the artist formerly known as Goldust wished to express himself in verse. And I'm not making that up on the spot. Those are literally the words that Luna Vachon said.
Yes.
But she said it in a horrible, screechy voice. And then Goldust, or the artist formerly known as Goldust, gets on the mic and says, "This is a little ditty I wrote when I was a child, and I'd like to share it with y'all if y'all could just shut the hell up." It goes something like this. And then he proceeds to recite the first, 8 pages of Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. The line, "Would you eat them in a box? Would you eat them with a fox?" And then Luna punches him and knocks him down, and then goes, come on, you scum suck." And then he just goes, "Thank you very much," and gets dragged out, and that's it.
What the fuck? Okay, honestly, Goldust had me dying here, because it wasn't even, his reciting of,
No. It was definitely the voices that he was doing, because he was, "I am Sam. Sam, I am." But then, the secondary voice is like, "That's Sam I am, that's Sam I am. I do not like that Sam I am." It was really flamboyant and over the top and hilarious.
And I love when he broke in the middle because the crowd was attacking. "Shut the hell up!" I'm like, oh wow. Artist formerly known as Goldust.
Shut the hell up! Would you like them in a house? Would you like them with a mouse?
Dude, what's so crazy is because, outside of just talking about this stuff, I'd also like to kind of impart my own perspective of the little things that I've watched in the Attitude Era. And I remember Goldust's vignettes and stuff, and I feel like they wanted to make him this really big deal, because I know he was Intercontinental Champion and he feuded with Undertaker at one point, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And yeah, he got to do stuff like this, and I really need to go back and watch more of Goldust stuff, because, again, I remember the vignettes, and I remember, a lot of his early career, or at least hearing about it, and it just seemed like he was kind of a big deal at the time, given, again, that the Attitude Era, the catchphrase of the USA Network is "characters welcome." Well, I feel like that was kind of the Attitude Era. No matter how odd you are, we'll probably have a place for you. And, man... And then you got Luna with that smoker's lung voice. I can't, man.
Come on, you scum suck.
You gotta stop doing that because it's too perfect. I corpse throughout the whole thing, man. I'm like,
oh yeah, and then Chat's pointing out another thing. He had his face painted white with a pink FU on his cheek.
Yes. I mean, didn't he have a pink wig too?
Yeah, and a spiked collar and a leash. Yep.
I love it though. I have my own opinions about Dustin Rhodes the person, because I know he did have that Twitter controversy at one point. I'm kind of I'm not really down with that. But as
He's
a
great
worker,
performer.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting ready to say. As a worker and as a performer, he really is quality, man. Because not only in ring, but a guy that's willing to go out and do that and really feel inspired by it and commit to it, a lot like we'd say about Cody years later. Really, really something. And this just put the stupidest grin on my face. I love this. I mean, this to me, if you can't really have fun with this, because I feel like this is quintessential pro wrestling. This is pro wrestling in its
really
form.
This segment was quintessential Attitude Era.
Yes, perfectly said. Perfectly said.
If you didn't like this segment, you would have hated the Attitude Era.
And you know what? I really missed something special then, because I love this shit, man. I ain't gonna lie. Artist formerly known as Goldust, I see you, bruh. I see you. That's just amazing.
I do not like them with a house. I do not like them with a mouse. I do not like them here nor there. I do not like them anywhere.
shut the hell up. That just really got me the most because I didn't see that coming. I'm like, damn.
That's the whole point, though, because he's doing this floozy light-voided gimmick, and then shut the hell up.
It's kind of like him from the Powerpuff Girls. It's just
Right?
so high-pitched, melodious, and then when he gets angry, it's just all like bellowing.
Oh, these Powerpuff Girls must die.
Yeah, and then like you said at the intro, he's like, "I'd like to share it with all of you if you could just shut up for a minute." Like, oh, Goldust.
Well, as if it wasn't bizarre enough already, now we get to hear a couple of legendary tag team performers talk about bookers.
Yeah, what was this?
Michael Cole interviewing the Legion of Doom is what this was, and apparently the New Age Outlaws cheated to beat them for the tag titles, and then Animal goes full Steiner cutting his promo, and then Hawk literally likens the New Age Outlaws to his bookers.
And the nail just can't get up there, just can't quite reach. But then I get it. I roll it around, and then I flick it.
And then I flick it.
I flick it.
New Age Outlaws, prepare to get flicked.
Oh,
and then,
what a booger.
And then it was, what a booger.
I didn't even know what was happening at this point. And
I just snorted, oh my god.
No, like, and the crazy thing is, I want to know if somebody can fill me in chat how long, like, the New Age Outlaws and Legion of Doom feuded in the tag team division, because the crazy thing about this is they worked, and I guess we're just getting ready to talk about this match now since we just did this backstage promo. They worked together, DX In Your House 97, and then In Your House 98, which I actually own the VHS tape of, they were the same tag title match. It was LOD versus New Age Outlaws again. And I'm just like, man, like, how long did these two teams feud? Like, knowing that they did back-to-back, like, In Your House 97 and then In Your House 98. That's nuts to me.
No, dude, I'm pretty sure there were multiple In Your House shows a year.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. But still, all the same, though, like, knowing that you get the same tag title match.
Yeah, there were multiple over In Your House shows every year in WWF at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and
like D-Generation X was, I think, the last show of 1997. Yeah, it was. In this show that we reviewed was the last pay-per-view of the WWE in 1997, and then obviously Royal Rumble happened in 98. But then the next In Your House was in February, and that would basically be like the fast lane of 1998 almost, or like the Elimination Chamber. And then that show, I believe, okay, so it wasn't that show then, but there was obviously another one of the In Your House shows would have been the one that we got the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn versus the LOD. Yeah. Here, New Age Outlaws versus LOD 2000 featuring Sonny for the tag titles. And that was at In Your House Unforgiven, which was in
98, right?
April. It was in April. It was in April of 98. So that would have actually taken place after WrestleMania.
Right.
Because at WrestleMania, I don't think the tag titles were even on WrestleMania, were they? Oh, yeah, they were. It was Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie versus the New Age Outlaws. So there was a break during the New Age Outlaws Legion of Doom feud before they went back to it in the Unforgiven In Your House show in April.
Right. Yeah, and this promo, just no words. Hawk likened the New Age Outlaws to boogers, and yeah, it happened. Any other thoughts you want to share about this?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny because I remember a match between these teams, or at least I feel like I remember a match between these teams that involved tables and ladders. I don't think it was a TLC match, obviously, because I'm pretty sure the first ever TLC match was the the triple ladder match kind of thing.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure there was a point when there was a match between these two teams that involved all of the ingredients to a TLC match.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, obviously, Over the Edge was the one where Owen Hart, I think, wasn't Over the Edge where Owen Hart fell?
Yeah, it was, unfortunately.
And then King of the Ring. I'm just trying to find here New Age Outlaws versus the New Midnight Express. I don't remember that whatsoever.
No, me either.
And then Fully Loaded. Yeah, man, I don't know what the hell was going on in 1998, but it was crazy.
Yeah, freaking nuts for my money. So what came after this?
Well, up next was the actual match, Legion of Doom versus New Age Outlaws. Or, I mean, it was supposed to be the match, but it took a while to get underway because, the New Age Outlaws come out. Oh, you didn't know? They do their shtick, and then they say, "Welcome to Jurassic Park," implying literally just that the Road Warriors were dinosaurs because they're old and... God, I gotta tell you, man, New Age Outlaws were ahead of their time because this would have gotten over today like crazy.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Really enjoyed their mic work here. Again, like you said, pretty much calling the Legion of Doom old. Match itself wasn't bad, but, again, everything just kind of went haywire. Animal gets the hot tag at one point. Seems like they're cooking. Then, it's going to be Doomsday Device. And then who interfered? Because their name was on the tip of my tongue.
Godwin?
Henry Godwin, that's right. He interfered, and then I think Hawk was the
Animal
one that
over the head with a bucket, and then Hawk spears him out of the ring and starts using the same bucket on Road Dogg and Billy Gunn and gets disqualified for it.
Yeah, I don't even know. It was clement, and that's why I laughed because again, I owned Unforgiven in Your House '98. And when they had that match, that ended in controversy too, because I think the finish was Hawk hit a German suplex on Billy Gunn and both their shoulders were down. So it was a double pin. So these guys just could not have a clean straight up match, which is why I had to remark about the rivalry. Was there ever a definitive okay, this team is better than this team? Because this is just freaking crazy to me. And yeah, just... Henry I was not expecting. What was the context of that? Why was Henry Godwin out there? What was
Dude, I have no idea. I legitimately don't know, and commentary didn't even try to explain it. But, I mean, to be fair, this is the Legion of Doom, this is the Road Warriors. They weren't exactly known for putting other teams over clean.
So is that why we always had these fluky fucking finishes? No.
I think it had to be, yeah, because they probably, refused to put over the New Age Outlaws because they represented everything that the Legion of Doom was against.
Oh my god. I hate when people don't do business. I don't care who you are. If you're Shawn
That's
Michaels
the one thing that I will say about the current generation that seems a lot better than this generation is, even though you might not necessarily think that today's performers are as entertaining as yesteryear's performers, they are business people. They aren't in it for themselves. They're just there to get a paycheck, and if you pay them, they'll do whatever you want them to do, and even if that includes losing a lot. So, whether you consider that to be a good thing or a bad thing, at least we're not going to have a situation like we did in this case with the Road Warriors refusing to job clean to the New Age Outlaws and just being in these constant schmaz finishers all the time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's nuts to me, and that explains so much. I'm glad you told me that because just thinking about this and then thinking about '98, I'm like, what was this feud? But yeah, it makes so much sense. So yeah, match gets thrown out.
I imagine this feud was WWE officials being like, "So, are you guys willing to lose clean on this show? No. Okay, then we're gonna have a disqualification. Are you guys ready to lose clean on this show? No. Okay, then we're going to have a double pin. It just kept going until, they were trying to wear the Road Warriors down, and it just never happened.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate because, I mean, I know the Legion of Doom, they're a legendary team, and nothing's really going to change that, but that kind of makes me lose some respect points for them, knowing that they just would not do business. And I'd be saying the same thing about, DX, and I have. I've heard that Shawn was, a prima donna and stuff, and I didn't care for that either.
Yeah,
I
Shawn
think
was a prick.
yeah, you go and you fucking do business. But I digress. This match, again, it was good. It's just Henry fucking Godwin. I don't know. So anything else you want to say about it?
I just love, like, even before the match started, I thought that the New Age Outlaws were freaking entertaining because they do their whole Welcome to Jurassic Park thing, and then, like, the Outlaws, or the Road Warriors get out of the ring and start, like, trying to, like, creep up, and the New Age Outlaws are just like, no, we are not doing this, and they go to the back, and they, like, I heard Lawler being like, oh, I guess they're doing some extra calisthenics, and then they come out and they were like, Mr. Ass has done his appropriate stretching.
Yes.
It was great, man. And then, like, they get dragged into the ring because they're trying to do another leave to do more stretching, obviously. But then freaking Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe show up and cut them off at the pass and force them back into the Road Warriors, where they get tossed into the ring and forced to start the match without consent.
God, yeah, old people were the worst on this show.
I mean, you don't have to say on this show. It's consistent.
Yeah, you're so right. I really have nothing else to say about it, man. I thought it was a well-worried match. I mean, I like both teams from an in-ring perspective. It's just I really got sick as far as their matches went of, like, the no straight-up finishes. And, yeah, it was the same thing here. So.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of no straight-up finishes, up next we got a video package hyping up Sergeant Slaughter and the Cobra Clutch.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Okay. So, I get what they're trying to do because Slaughter, he was far beyond an active competitor at this point. He was commissioner. So I guess they just want to try and establish a base of credibility. So I understand that. And honestly, I even have good things to say about the match, which I'm assuming we'll get to in a few moments. What did you think about this video package?
I mean, it was, hey, guys, the Cobra Clutch is deadly. That's basically all this was.
Yeah, which, again, I can understand, because I feel like even on the Raw before this show, because they showed us that video package before the Shamrock Michaels fight, and Slaughter got Triple H and the Cobra Clutch there, too. So I think they really wanted to build it up before the show. So it's like, oh, if Triple H, gets hooked in this, he's in big-time trouble. So I get it. I just couldn't help but kind of chuckle a little bit.
Yeah, and then Michael Cole interviews Triple H, and Triple H is talking about how, he's got this Sergeant Slaughter survival kit, and it's got a comb so that he can comb through his hair. Guys, Sergeant Slaughter's bald. This was a joke. He's got Metamucil. He's got prunes to loosen the old man up. And then there was something else. What else was it in the survival kit after the prunes? I forget.
Oh, God, I'm trying to remember. I forget, too.
I don't remember. But then he talked about how, Slaughter, this isn't your generation anymore. It's degeneration, and maybe after the match, I'll swing by your house to let your old lady get a smoke of the peace pipe. And he does the cross chop.
Because X marks the spot.
Depends. It was Depends. That was the last thing in the survival kit.
Yeah, I love this promo. The Triple H is actually really likable here to me, which I guess was kind of a problem because they wanted to portray him as heels. Like, how dare they?
Well, yeah, because that was the whole thing with Degeneration X, is that they were dastardly heels, but they were so entertaining that they ended up getting over as faces.
Exactly.
And that's been Triple H's MO the entire time.
Oh my God, pulling a Triple H. We've witnessed the origin.
The origin story.
God, that ESPN though. But yeah, great promo here from Triple H. And then do we go immediately to Slaughter too as kind of like a rebuttal?
Yeah. Slaughter talks about how I may be old, but I'm not dead. Could have fooled me.
Ah, Triple H, you puke, and just,
and that's in order.
I bet in his time though he was a pretty great freaking heel because I think Jerry Lawler even had a reference in this match. Like he referenced Saddam Hussein in this match, and I thought that was funny because we know that Slaughter as a heel, like he was an Iraqi sympathizer. So I thought that, I don't know if Jerry Lawler meant that as a reference, but it was one nonetheless for me. Yeah, I mean Slaughter's promo was fine. It's just, again, like, it really just shows you the generation gap. Because, I mean, both types of characters, like these delinquents and this sergeant that takes himself way too seriously, they're both different kinds of ham. It's really just the ham that you prefer. And, again, I couldn't help but, like, smirk a little bit. Him trying to be like this tough guy, like, oh, okay, Sarge. But, again, I actually have good things to say about the match, which we actually get to, don't we? Unless, do you have anything to say about Sergeant Slaughter's promo?
No, I just love that these old timers always felt the need to really muscle in their catchphrase even when it made no sense. Like, if you're telling Triple H to do something and then you follow up with, and that's an order, it makes sense. But you're literally saying, I'm going to kick your ass, and that's an order. That makes no sense. What are you doing?
Yeah, get out of the barracks, Sarge. Jesus.
I know, right? That's like The Rock being like, or no, not The Rock. That's like Stone Cold asking a question and being like, "Who do you think you are?" And that's the bottom line. Like, it makes no sense.
Maybe his circuitry went haywire. I don't know.
I mean, he is clearly a well-wired machine, right? I don't know, but yeah. Then we got to the match. Triple H versus Sergeant Slaughter in, I guess they called it a boot camp match because there was anything goes kind of stipulation. Although I think it still ended in DQ somehow.
No, it ended straight up because Triple H pedigreed Slaughter on the chair and he got the pin.
Okay. Oh, okay. But still, like, this match was way, way, way too long. This should have been 10 minutes tops. And you know what? I'm gonna check to see how long this match went.
This was, I think, this was like a little over 18 minutes because I checked.
It was 17:39 according to Wikipedia, which means it was as long as the main event.
Yeah. Here's my thing. Could you have trimmed a little bit of time off? Sure. I gotta give Triple H credit though. He bumped his ass off for Slaughter to me.
He really did, didn't he?
No, I mean that as a compliment though. Like he really put his back in.
I'm serious too. He did so well. Like that's the thing. Like Triple H, like we were complaining, like the Legion of Doom was unwilling to do business. Triple H did business in this match.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, that's what happens when you don't have Stroke at the time, because I think he was still, new and still kind of ascending the ranks, even though DX was a huge thing at the time. And yeah, like he's bumping his ass off. Like you would have thought Slaughter was wrestling him in his prime. Like Slaughter was just really taking it to him. Slaughter, for his part, he took his bumps.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it, though, dude. This match almost reminded me of like Hogan Michaels from SummerSlam 03.
Yeah, we're like Sean overbumped for Hogan because he was salty.
I know, yeah, that's what I feel like Triple H did here, though. Like, he tried so hard that it almost got comical the way that he was bumping for Slaughter here.
Yeah, and Slaughter, for his part, I'll admit, like, didn't do bad. I certainly think it helped having this no DQ stipulation.
Because, for sure. Yeah. Like, it's almost like the Pentagon Vampiro thing. And apparently it was SummerSlam 05, not 03, so that was my mistake. But, yeah, it was like the Pentagon Vampiro thing. Like, Vampiro is by no means a great wrestler now, nor I don't even know if he ever has been. I honestly don't know about his previous career to make a call on that. But, like, he's definitely not a great in-ring performer now. But what he can do is character stuff. And what he can do is, hit people with heavy objects and sell. And that's pretty much where Sergeant Slaughter was at this point in his career as well. So, yeah, like, this made a whole lot of sense. And even though I feel like it did go on for way too long and it got dragged out for way too long, it was still entertaining for the most part.
And let me say this too, because I believe it was Cliff that said, like, interest didn't pick up for him until Chyna got involved. Speaking of Chyna, Jesus Christ, her arms, dude. Like,
here's the thing. Like, I was watching, like, this pay-per-view was right around the time that I was getting into wrestling. And yeah, that's what Chyna looked like when I first got into it. Like my family is always very candid, and like my grandma, I guess it would be my great grandma, my mom's mom, used to always talk about how she thought Chyna was a man, straight up.
Right. And yeah, like I don't even mean to like denigrate or be weird about it. I'm just saying, like, her arms were huge. Like, I wish I was that jacked. Holy fuck, was she a beast. And, like, we'd see that on display in the main event, too, and we'll get to that. But, yeah, like, her jumping on top of Slaughter with the first Cobra clutch and, like, raking his eyes. And then, the crazy thing was towards the finish when Sarge has the Cobra clutch again, and they did the spot that you've said on record that you wish they'd bring it back with, like, okay, the arm's gonna drop 3 times.
Yes, I love that spot so much. Triple H had Slaughter in a sleeper, and they did that too. Because, like, that spot is like the easiest way to gauge who is over in the match. Because if the babyface is legitimately and truly over, that spot will get a huge pop when the hand doesn't drop for the 3rd time.
Exact, and that's the thing, dude. Like, in this day and age, if the hand would have dropped the one time, Slaughter would have won this match. Like, they wouldn't have even bothered. Like, this would have been the finish, and Slaughter would have gotten the win. But because it had to drop 3 times, back then, I think it allowed for a really clever finish where it's like, okay, Triple H is still in this, but not really. But he's only in it because of Chyna, who, look at that, comes from behind with just the field goal freaking kick right to the nuts. And yeah, and then like the powder gets thrown because Chyna tried that. Sarge like countered that, but ultimately like it was just too much for him. He gets pedigreed on the chair, and Triple H gets the win.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is the pleasant surprise of the show, because I think you'd look at this on paper and you'd be like, oh, Sergeant Slaughter, and it's 1997. Well, this is gonna be a fucking stinker. And I actually really enjoyed this. I thought it was good.
I mean, to be fair, it wasn't good. It just wasn't awful like we expected it to be.
I mean, yeah, and again, if people feel that way, that's fine. I was pleasantly surprised by this. I came away enjoying this a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah. Oh, this is fun, though. This was fun. And I feel like that was the theme of the show. Like, it wasn't a high-quality show, but it was fun, man. It was entertaining.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And then, of course, you had the spot where Triple H takes the ring bell from Mark Eaton and, like, clocks him with it.
Yeah, and everybody was so concerned about Mark. Like, people were rushing to him, like, oh, Mark, you all right? And, like, all these
and
people.
And then, like, Eaton got carried out, and I heard Lawler say, oh, his bell was wrong.
God, Lawler's troll game was so on point.
It was amazing. It was so good.
Oh, man. But, yeah, this match happened. I enjoyed it. I really got nothing else to say, though. Unless you have anything else to say, we can move on. This was crazy.
God, but it just gets worse, though, because up next we had Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, but no. I got to say this, though. Kudos to Jeff Jarrett for spewing all that bullshit with a straight face. And when I beat The Undertaker, I'll be one step closer to being the #1 contender for the WWF Championship. In your fucking dreams, bud. Mid-Carter for life.
Dude, wasn't this the show that he was on like a handshake deal with Vince McMahon because he was getting ready to jump over to WCW and Vince wanted him to do one last job?
Honestly, I had no idea about that, and I couldn't answer you adequately because I'm totally
somebody who's more knowledgeable about mid to late 90s WWF and WCW need to fill me in on this, because I feel like this was that show. I'm pretty sure that this is the show that Jeff Jarrett like straight up said like F you to WWF and was out. And Vince was like, no, you know what? I'm going to hold you hostage unless you do this one last job for me. And yeah, he had him lose to The Undertaker.
But that's the thing, though. He didn't lose to The Undertaker by all accounts, as we'd
find out. Well, because Kane.
Yeah, and it was like a DQ freaking thing. Yeah, and the match was, I mean, the promo again.
Oh, that's right. It was Jeff Jarrett versus Chyna that was. So, okay, so I'm early in the timeline.
Okay, yeah, it sounded like you were early because the way they were building it up, and they even said in the interview, oh, Jarrett, we're moments away from your in-ring debut. But that also confused me because then they're like, oh, it's like a long list of defeated wrestlers. So, like, what the hell? Like, what was, I don't know. It was a weird promo. It was Jarrett. Not really much more you can say than that. I love the beginning of his entrance, though. Because, again, I just could not stop laughing my ass off with so much on this show. And it's like, there are great superstars, and then there's me. What the fuck is happening? And then he comes out. And then you get the super serious, like the gong and everything, and the Undertaker. And honestly, dude, the one thing that stuck out to me in this match, besides Kane and that whole great rivalry, and it's funny that I mentioned Unforgiven in Your House 98 that I own, because that was their Inferno match, which I really enjoyed. But by today's standards, this should have been a fucking squash. I couldn't even believe that Jarrett was even somewhat competitive with Taker here, like working over the leg and stuff. I'm like, how is this match still going?
Yeah, this was like an embarrassing match for The Undertaker's career.
Yeah, I think he just swallowed it because he's like, okay, this is more about the narrative with Kane. Jarrett's just kind of an afterthought, but oh, wait, he's winning. Like, even if it's by DQ, what have I always said? Like, a win is a win, and in those proverbial record books, it's going to be like, oh, Jarrett beat The Undertaker. That just feels so wrong. But yeah, Kane comes out. Jarrett's like...
I mean, to be fair, didn't Maven beat The Undertaker at one point?
He eliminated him from the Rumble, and yeah, he beat him for the Hardcore title. So
Yeah. So yeah,
yeah.
let's not put Taker up on too much of a pedestal. He's willing to do a job.
And then no, I commend him for that. It's just it's Jarrett who he really became the main eventer, but oh wait, you own the company, so 2 + 2 = 4, asshole.
Broke 1,000 guitars and didn't draw a dime.
Probably one of the smartest things Jim Cornette ever said. And yeah, Kane comes out.
Good.
And Jarrett's just
By the way, can I just point out how blatantly Jeff Jarrett was ripping off Ric Flair in this entire match and this gimmick?
Oh yeah, like I even knew that about him because I mean you know me, like I'm the gamer guy.
Yeah, because like he does the strut, he does the figure 4, like, good lord.
Oh yeah, I knew that about him a little bit again because of like I owned WrestleMania 2000 and he had the taunt and the figure 4 and everything. And I'm like, do you think you're Ric Flair right now? What is this? But yeah, that just blatant rip off to me. I love that he's trying to tell Kane, come on, Kane, let's get him. You know, you could do it. And Kane just chokeslams him because he doesn't give a fuck. And this stare down though was epic. Like I could see why people loved the characters in the Attitude Era, especially Kane here when he was so dominant and so fierce. And yeah, he's staring down the Undertaker. And it's something to see the Undertaker, even though it was like way back when, just not do a thing because the whole storyline was, no, he's my brother. I refuse to fight my brother. And Kane just bitch slaps him and he walks out. So that was a great moment. That was actually worth.
You really thought that was a great moment? I mean, I thought that Jim Ross added more to that moment than the moment would have just standing alone.
And I certainly agree with you there because, I mean, again, this is at a time when I actually thoroughly enjoyed commentary because I felt like you just get a pair like Ross and Lawler and, you know, just let the rest take care of itself. But, yeah, I mean, the stare down, you know, knowing that Kane is you know, eye and eye with The Undertaker. And, again, I knew a little bit about the story because it's like, oh, man, this conflict because he's my brother. And, yeah, I enjoyed it. Like, it was a small antagonism by Kane, but it's one that like I felt and that resonated with me. Certainly resonated with Jarrett because he got choke slammed afterwards by the Undertaker because he had to take his frustration out on somebody. I wish he would have done a little bit more. I was waiting for a tombstone, but you know, what have you. And yeah, that was that. Jarrett wins by DQ. And yeah, really showed him.
And then he goes for the figure 4 and gets choke slammed for his troubles.
Exactly, because that's what you deserve, bitch.
We did it again.
Anything else you want to say about this?
I don't think so. No. Let's move on. Michael Cole up in the stands interviews Mark Henry, and they're chilling out with a bunch of people that are from Milton Bradley, who I guess sponsored the event. And Cole's even like, "Oh, all right. Well, who do you got in this upcoming fight, Rock or Austin?" And Mark Henry just like, "Oh, Stone Cold. He's my guy."
I love you, Henry. Even back then, I'm like, yeah, that's one cool-ass motherfucker right there. But, yeah, I think he said he was hurt, right? And it kind of hurt him not to be able to compete with everything going on. And it's funny because, like, I know The Rock was still associated with, like, Farouk and D.O.A. and I forget what the other guy's name was. But they were, like, the nation of
Kama Mustafa.
Yeah, Kama Mustafa. And I know they're Nation of Domination, so I guess this was after, like, Mark Henry left, because I know he used to be a member, so I was a little surprised that he sided with Stone Cold. But, yeah, and it was cool to hear from him, and then we get our Intercontinental Championship match. Well, we get a video package before that, and I guess a Rock promo, which is also pretty sweet. But what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, this whole video package about the Rock-Austin feud had some really weird vibes to me, because if you think about it, The Rock was the leader of sort of a Black Power group. The Nation of Domination was all about, Black Power. They wore the African colors and all that stuff. And then you've got this beer-drinking, truck-driving redneck with a Bible verse on his shirt chasing him around and beating him up.
Yeah, when you put it that way, I never really thought about it in that context, but damn, that's really something. I mean, we get Rock's promo. What did you think about the Rock's promo?
Wait, when did The Rock cut a promo?
Wasn't that after the video package? Because I know he cut a promo before the match.
Oh, Dok Hendrix interviewed him. Yeah, that's right. And I don't know. I feel like this really wasn't, it wasn't The Rock yet.
Yeah, but you could see the seeds being planted, I
Oh,
think.
you could see the charisma from miles away, but he didn't have his catchphrases, which is pretty much
Right.
what his promos were.
Right. Just like, first of all, listen, Jack, it's The Rock. Because I think Dok Hendrix called him Rocky Maivia.
Well, yeah, that's what his name was, and he was kind of making the transition.
Right. And Rock pretty much
Even
says, like,
Jim Ross had a moment where he was like, "Oh, Rocky Maivia," and Jerry Lawler had to be like, "No, it's the Raw or the Rock."
yeah. And I just love that The Rock just comes out and says, yeah, I'm the best Intercontinental Champion ever. Even though that was Stone
I thought
Cold's
he said
belt.
the most dangerous.
You know what? You're probably right. I think he did say the most dangerous, but it was funny because he never beat Stone Cold for the belt, and that was like the whole story.
Yeah.
Austin was the real champion,
Yeah.
and Rock just stole it from him.
I mean,
And
they even showed in the video package The Rock ran to the ring, slid into the ring, grabbed the title, slid out, and left.
yep,
Like, again, like, oh my God. So the All Black faction, not only are they the bad guys who cheat to win matches, but they literally steal physical possessions as well.
right.
Great going, guys. This is peak Vince McMahon right here, guys.
Yeah, again, like I never really thought about it in that context until you brought it up, and I'm just slowly getting my brain matter back together.
Yeah, this never ever would fly in post like 2007, 8 maybe.
Yeah, certainly not. You'd see people like raving all over this and or ranting and raving all over this, I should say, and deservedly so. Because again, I never.
There would be literal protests. Like people would be boycotting the WWE product.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get our match itself. And here's the thing about the match, right? Because again, I told you that I looked up this show, like its wiki page, which always gives like the results of the matches and the timestamps. This match was only 5 minutes and 28 seconds, and I feel
The
like
Rock got destroyed and Austin murdered everyone.
he did. And you know what though? I had so much fun with it. I'm like, it didn't even feel like 5 minutes.
Dude, I am agreeing with you. Like, I didn't even realize that The Rock ever had a moment in his career where he was allowed to look this vulnerable.
Right. It was
like I
crazy.
knew that he lost to Austin in their first 2 WrestleMania matches together, but like this was a squash match. The Rock did nothing in this match. He hit one people's elbow, and this was before they even called it the people's elbow. And then he went for a true people's elbow where he removed the elbow pad, missed it, and then Austin stunned the ref accidentally, and then he stunned The Rock and got a 3 count because a new ref came in.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, Rock did not get shit. He even tried for a brass knuck shot, and Austin blocked it. So it was like either 100% Austin or at best, if you're The Rock, 98% Austin, 2% Rock. That's it. Like, yeah, I feel like it was so
the
one-sided.
match started with Austin driving in a pickup truck. D'Lo Brown tries to attack him and gets back body dropped under the hood and then stunned on the roof of the truck. And then we get some Austin Rock stuff in the ring. And then the other 2 guys, Farouk and Kama, try getting involved. Austin throws one of them up against the car and then Irish whips Kama up against the car. And then gets back in the ring, starts getting beat down a little bit, eats a people's elbow. But then when The Rock goes for the second people's elbow with the actual removal of the elbow pad, Austin sits up, stunner on the ref, stunner on The Rock, 3 count. Like, that's the whole match. It was so short, and Austin dominated everyone.
I know The Rock wasn't yet The Rock here, but, I mean, no wonder he had a complex when it came to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because if I got beat that bad, I would have one too. Yeah, man. Just crazy to think about how, for the most part, their rivalry always seemed to me really one-sided when it came to, like, major one-on-one matches, not including WrestleMania 19 where Rock would finally get his.
Dude, but like my whole thing is I want Vince McMahon to go back and watch this and be aware that like he did this to The Rock and now look at where The Rock is and realize like, oh, maybe we rethink the way that we're going about this whole Roman Reigns thing.
I know, right? And you've been saying that too. Like, it's funny because, I mean, they are blood relatives. And then the parallels run even beyond that, because you look at how they treated The Rock. They made the necessary adjustments. They really didn't care about making him look vulnerable because they had.
Well, yeah, because The Rock, I mean, as Rocky Maivia won the Intercontinental Championship on his debut, and the crowd hated him because he was this generic babyface, smiling good guy. And then they put him with the faction and turned him heel and did stuff like this, where he looked like a complete geek, like he looked like a nobody here.
Yeah, and then he would find himself and he would just explode.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's literally, to this day, the biggest crossover star in the history of pro wrestling.
Yeah. Unbelievable how that works out, isn't it? And yet you could have maybe similar success. And
but dude, that's the beautiful thing, is you don't even have to worry about Roman Reigns going to movies because he's not talented enough.
Right. Yeah, like Roman Reigns
doesn't have The Rock's level of charisma. You don't have to worry about him leaving your company for Hollywood like you did with The Rock, like you did with Cena. But if you would treat Roman Reigns the way that you treated The Rock, he might actually manage to get over in a good way, in a healthy way.
We may never know, my man, and that's sad. That's really sad, because you see how well it worked for The Rock. And again, this match was a hell of a lot of fun. Didn't hurt Rock in the slightest.
I'm telling you, man, I've been saying this for years now. And even before the crowd turned on Roman. Yeah. Roman Reigns isn't The Rock. Roman Reigns isn't John Cena. Roman Reigns is Batista.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think everybody on their mother who's ever watched Batista's run in the WWE would agree he is infinitely more entertaining as a heel than he is as a babyface. Same goes for Roman.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Again, we may never know. They may never really take that plunge like they did with The Rock. And yet if they didn't take that plunge for The Rock, who knows what could have happened. He could have been stuck in mid-card hell. Maybe he would have gotten to the main event, but it wouldn't have been well received at all. That also sound familiar. Like, who knows if they really didn't take that chance of, okay, let's do this with him. Let's make him look vulnerable here with Austin, because, Cliff even pointed out, like, a month later, Austin would win the Rumble. But again, The Rock bounced back in a major way. This was such a fun match. And I think both guys, Stone Cold more short-term than The Rock. For Rock, it was more of a long-term thing. But both guys, I feel like, came out looking, great with this. And yeah, it would just be a continuation of what would become an epic rivalry between these two. So great stuff all around.
Yeah. So up next, after Austin gets his big win and keeps the Intercontinental Championship, but gets the championship belt back, we got a video package showing a Raw segment where Shawn Michaels had Triple H twist the hell out of his ankle like 3 times over. And he talks about how he's increased his pain threshold to an unbelievable degree. And then they also show a Raw segment where they had Jim the Anvil Neidhart handcuffed to the ropes, and then Sergeant Slaughter and Ken Shamrock came out for the save, and we ended up in a really cool spot where you have Anvil grabbing Chyna by the pants, preventing her from helping either of the other 2 D-Generation X guys. Sergeant Slaughter locks Triple H in a Cobra Clutch. Ken Shamrock locks Shawn Michaels into an ankle lock, and we have this cool, like, double submission spot where, of course, Chyna's being held up by Anvil so she can't help. So it was a really cool, I'm guessing that would have been the go-home segment, the last segment on Raw,
yes,
to hype up the show. And it actually got me excited to see this match, which was Ken Shamrock versus Shawn Michaels.
And I thoroughly enjoyed this, but you know what? I want you to go first. What did you think about this match? Actually, what did you think about Shawn's promo prior to this? Because Jim Ross did interview him backstage.
Yeah. well, wait. Jim Cornette interviewed Ken Shamrock.
Yeah, but Jim Ross also got comments from Shawn Michaels, because remember he called him Girth Brooks.
Oh yeah. I forgot all about that already, and we just watched it. I mean, Shamrock had an interview and basically just said that HBK was going to be squealing like a baby. But then, Shawn got asked about the match from Jim Ross, and he just makes fun of how fat Jim Ross is at the time. And you even see Triple H do like the belly pantomime and everything. Like, these guys were great heels in that they were really disrespectful and scumbags for human beings, but they were so entertaining that it was impossible to consistently boo them.
Yeah, I was fine with this. I've always been comfortable because I mean we know with Scott Steiner and Samoa Joe, he's fat, and we were even saying with Rude on our NXT review, like why didn't he go after how Cassius Ohno looks? Only time I've ever been uncomfortable with the mockery of Jim Ross is when I got to the Bell's palsy. But yeah, the weight thing, I never really had an issue with that. And Jim Ross is even like, oh yeah, thanks for your time. Oh yeah, sure, don't mention it. I just love what a douche Sean was. I mean, I wish that didn't exactly extend so much backstage as it did, but it was great stuff. Then we get to the match. What did you think about this main event?
Boy, you know how people always say, like, oh man, Shawn Michaels was such a good wrestler. He could wrestle a broomstick and put on a 4-star match with it.
Yeah.
The broomstick might have been better at wrestling than Ken Shamrock.
Yeah, again, it's a weird thing because I didn't hate Ken Shamrock here. Sean again.
I mean, here's the thing. Ken knew enough stuff to kind of get by to the untrained eye and show that, like, he wasn't a complete buffoon, but good lord, is he bad in the ring.
Yeah. I mean, compared to Sean,
his German or his belly-to-belly suplex looked really cool, and that's why they kind of overblew it. Like, by God, the match is over as soon as he hits one belly-to-belly suplex, because like that was like the one thing that he did that was cool. But everything else was so painfully like, it was like watching a robot try and do calisthenics. It was bad.
To be fair, I thought the Hurricane Rana looked quite nice. I did not expect
I mean,
at all.
dude, the thing is, like, he did a Hurricane Rana, but to me, it didn't look good at all.
I don't know. I disagree with you. I thought it looked quite nice. Sean bumped his ass off.
It looked like he jumped up and then leaned back, and Shawn Michaels did everything else for that Hurricane Rana.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me because, again, he was bumping his ass off for Shamrock. One thing that frustrated me about this match, though, and this is where, like, my first complaint kind of comes in, like, Chyna blatantly interfered not once but twice, like, shoving Shamrock into the ring post and then slamming him on the floor. And I'm like, why isn't she being ejected? Like, why is she still allowed to be out here? In fact, why is Triple H allowed to be out here? Because didn't he even punch Shamrock in the face a few times? So both Chyna and Triple H got physical with Shamrock, and yet they were permitted to say. I mean, granted, to be fair, I think when Triple H got those punches in, the ref's back was turned and his attention was on Michaels. But Chyna, I know the ref saw the ring post spot because I think he was even chastising her for it. And I'm like, okay, you have the power to throw her out and do it. And he's not doing it. Fuck it. So yeah, that was frustrating. Sean's selling was on point. I do like the story they were telling in this match about, like, oh, if he slaps that ankle lock on, you're guaranteed a new WWF champion. And Sean, like, kind of mockingly training and, like, building the endurance of his legs. I thought that was a cool story to have. Shamrock does get the ankle lock, but then, interference, everything just kind of breaks down. Match gets thrown out, disqualification. The craziest thing about this, though, was that we also, because, again, the big fight breaks out and everything, Owen Hart returns here. And I got to give commentary credit for this because Jim Ross actually does get a line in there. Him and King talk about how Shawn Michaels, like, one of the best things he did was dispose of the Hart family. And they talk about, British Bulldog and Bret Hart and Owen. And, Jim Ross is like, well, many people would say that that's a sad fact. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess it's just kind of put heel heat on Michaels. But no, we see Owen Hart reemerge here. And I did not expect that at all, dude.
Yeah. I've never been a fan of the Hart family. I'm kind of on the the Jerry Lawler line of thinking there. I've never really been into anything that the Harts have ever done. But I've always kind of given more credit to Owen than all the other ones because seems like he's the only one in the family with an ounce of charisma, even if it's not a ton of charisma. Like he wasn't exceedingly charismatic, but he had more to him than the rest of the Hart family. This is the second piece of evidence now that leads me to believe that he was, like, really unprofessional.
Really? What was the first?
Well, the first one was the whole Austin situation where Austin was straight up like, no, like, I don't sit down, land on your knees, and then ended up breaking his neck. And now Owen attacks Sean, which knocks Sean through the announce table, which is fine. But then he literally jumps on top of Shawn and then lands like really like a lot of his weight landed on Shawn. And then he literally penetrates the skin of Shawn Michaels' nose with his fingernails. Like, how unprofessional do you have to be to intentionally draw blood when you're supposed to be working?
Yeah, I can give you that because, you know, like, I do like Owen, and I always respected that he seemed like a guy, like, he just wanted to make money for his family and just, like, do that. That's why he did stuff like Blue Blazer, and he didn't seem as protective of the Hart name or of his ego or of his name as, like, Brett came off to me. But, yeah, the Austin thing always left a bad taste in my mouth because Austin was adamant, like, no, Owen, please do not do this. Like, I don't feel comfortable with this. And then I really didn't take as much exception with what he did here, but, you know, maybe you just had a better eye than I did, like, catching that, because, yeah,
Well,
Shawn
dude,
even did look kind of legitimately pissed to me afterwards.
yeah, I mean, and did you not see, like, when they were laying on the ground in, like, the broken announce table, Owen, I don't know if it was supposed to look like he was digging his, like, thumbs into Shawn's eyes or something, but they were literally digging his thumbs, like, pushing his nostrils together, like, into his nose.
Right.
And then when Shawn stood up, his nose, like the sides of his nose where Owen's fingers were, was bleeding. Like, that's ridiculously unprofessional.
Yeah. Gotta give him some flack for that. So this main event was crazy. I mean, Shawn's still WWF champion. I think that's something you'd be hearing a lot of in this era. But yeah, just an entertaining main event. I didn't hate it. It's just, again, another non-finish, by the way, because, yeah, DQ. And it goes back to 3 DQ finishes on this show. So I had fun with it. It was a goofy, stupid time. But, yeah, and like you said at the beginning, peak Attitude Era. So any other thoughts you want to share on this main event?
I don't think so, man. I think that we've pretty much said what we have to say about it. Do we have anything left to say about this show in general?
No, man, I'm good. I enjoyed myself. Like I said, this is kind of a turn your brain off, just let the experience happen kind of thing, and I'm glad it did. If I was being far more critical, because, again, I did have fun with this show. Like, yeah, the 3 DQ finishes, that wasn't cool. Hated Butterbean Mero. That was probably, like, the most boring part of the show to me.
And to me, the most boring part of the show was Jarrett Taker.
Yeah, I mean, see, the only reason why I didn't count against that was, again, looking at my timestamps here, that was only like a little, like close to 7 minutes, just shy of 7 minutes. So that was really short. Whereas the Butterbean Marc Mero, that was 10 minutes and 20 seconds. 10 minutes too long for my liking. I wish this never existed. But, yeah, I just felt like Jarrett Taker had a better pace for me. But, yeah, Butterbean Mero did not care for that at all. Artist formerly known as Goldust, I loved him. That was probably like my favorite non-wrestling segment of the show. Just, I'd like to share this with all of you if you could just shut up. And yeah, I'd still say my favorite match on the show, oddly enough, was the opener. I really enjoyed Taka Michinoku versus Brian Christopher. But the commentary made that legend status so good.
Yeah, it was pretty great. So yeah, I would actually agree with you. That was probably my favorite match on the show as well.
Yeah.
Really, I would say, my favorite match of the show, it's between that and the main event. And the only reason I enjoyed the main event wasn't because it was like this great technical masterpiece or anything. It was just funny to me. It was entertaining. Like, seeing the way that Shawn Michaels had to go so far out of his way to make Ken Shamrock look competent in the ring, and the way that he was like just bumping all over the place. Like, this was another match that was almost reminiscent of that Hogan Michaels 05 match. And of course, the common thread there is Shawn Michaels. And yeah, he did it again. And I mean, he didn't oversell nearly as much for Shamrock as he did it for Hogan, but he was still like, he was working so hard to get Shamrock over and to make him look credible. And yeah, Shamrock kind of trying the ankle log at the very end, and then just the DQ finish felt like a ripoff. So yeah, because of the crap finish, I'm going to agree, and I'm going to say that the opener, Michinoku versus Brian Christopher, was my favorite match.
Yeah, because I mean, you got color in that unintentionally, which, I mean, for me, kind of added to the experience. Feeling like, wow, these guys are playing for high stakes. You had a definitive winner, and again, like, here's the thing: if it wasn't for commentary, this probably still would be my match of the night, but not as much of like a wide margin compared to everything else. But man, just seeing Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross getting those digs in, like, about, oh, you proud of your boy? Or, oh, did you teach him that when he was a child? And, like, just all this stuff, just so good. So good. So, yeah, this and the artist formerly known as Goldust were easily my favorite parts of the show.
Man, this was a lot of fun. I think we're gonna have to close it out now, though. Do you have any final thoughts before we end this?
Absolutely not. I had fun with this, and I'm really glad all of you guys were able to join us for this Patreon review. And partner, I'm going to hand it back to you.
All right, guys. Well, I have our links all in the description, as well as a thank you to Cliff Amal for donating $21 to make this review happen. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and once you've subscribed, click the little bell for notifications for when we go live. Buy a t-shirt, support us on Patreon, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, check out the official TWitWoW subreddit, and then if you want to look in the description even further down below, we have some notes for what actually happened on this show, so you can relive it in text form if you so choose.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really all I got to say. Degeneration X in your house. X marks the spot. So, yeah, Scum Squad for life. Partner, I'll let you take us home.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have nothing left for this week, but of course, next week the cycle begins again. Monday Night Raw, the TWitWoW review. Tuesday night, SmackDown live reactions. Wednesday, midday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, Lucha Underground Rewatch Season 2. Wednesday night, TWitWoW for NXT. And then Thursday night, we're doing a review for WrestleMania 19.
Oh, I can't wait for that. It's going to be so
arguably the best WrestleMania of all time, and we will be reviewing that show. So that should be very fun, should be really interesting. And guys, we will see you all next Monday. Stay tuned.